What's up? What's up? What's up, everybody? We're back again. This is your boy, StephenMotivate, with another special episode. We have a great guest with us today. And as y'all know, we love to dive into the journey of entrepreneurship, the ups and the downs. And, I think we have someone here today that has the experience, has the resume, is doing the thing. I was just telling her that I've seen some of her posts from the beginning stages to now she's on stages and seemingly killing it in what she's doing. So I'm going to let her introduce herself. But just for all of y'all out there, I'm very happy to have you here because I think you have a lot that you can share with us about the journey of entrepreneurship. So, Maya, please introduce yourself to our audience.
All right, awesome. Thank you so much for having me. My name is Maya Elious. I'm a business coach. I primarily work with women of faith, teaching them how to package their existing skills so they can build a six-figure business online as efficiently as possible.
Okay.
And I love what I do. And I love sharing the beginning stages. So we'll definitely talk about the ups, the downs, the failures that have led to the successes. So I'm really excited. I think sometimes when people come across my platform, they see where I am now and they see the success. And I'm like, listen, it took a lot of L's to get to these M's. So we got to talk about some of those
I
L's.
like that. Yes. Took a lot of L's to get to the M's. And that's really, because like I was telling you earlier, like I feel like there's this misnomer. There's this idea that, entrepreneurship is a cure-all. And, it's easy. It's like I get rid of my boss and I get to be my own boss, and that's going to be funner or better.
Yeah.
And in many cases, it doesn't always feel that way. So I definitely want us to get into that. But let's start back. Like, where are you from? Who is Maya? Like, are you come from a big family, small family? Like, give us some context around.
Who is Maya?
Yeah.
Well, I'm first generation American. So I have two Liberian parents. So grew up in a strict, actually Christian household, which I love. And it's funny because I was having a conversation with a friend yesterday. We were just talking about our upbringing and, how we were disciplined. And it's like, when I was younger, I used to think my parents were super strict and that they were hard on me and that all of my other friends got to do whatever. And I'm like, in my 20s, I realized it was paying off.
Yeah.
Because you get to see where you are. And like a lot of the lessons that my parents instilled in me, I'm like, oh, it's starting to click now. Because I see how y'all are acting. I see how I'm acting. I'm like, thank you, Mom and Dad.
Yeah, I'm grateful, Mom and Dad.
Yes, very grateful.
Yeah, that little instruction, that bit of my parents were strict too, but I feel like my parents was a little older, so I feel like their strictness started to wane as they got older because I'm the youngest of four. Okay. And I remember Dad coming in and cutting off Boys to Man. Like, Boys to Man was going, no, y'all not having that. I'm like, Boys to Man? That wasn't
right.
it.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Come on. But so what is that like? Liberian parents. So did you were born in the States? But okay.
But they were born there. And so, they moved here in their 20s, which is crazy to think about because when I think about what I was doing in my 20s, I don't even know if I had my passport at the age that they moved here, So to think that they came here and their vision, was to live the American dream, start a family here, all of that. My dad went to Ohio State and he also went to other universities that allowed him to be able to leave Liberia.
Okay.
And so just really grateful for that. And so their vision for me and my sister was for us to be able to, go to a good university, get a degree, get a good job. And both me and my sister dropped out of college. So I'm like, ooh. I know they were looking like, Lord, what is going on? What did we do wrong? And I know I took them through it, but they're grateful for where I am now.
Ooh, that's interesting. So dropped out of college. That's really cool. And they were both college graduates, both of them?
Yeah, my mom went to beauty college, and yes, my dad, he went to Ohio State University.
Ohio State, okay. So education's super important to them. It brought them to this country. It's what they know as the key to unlock the future and build.
Yeah.
So what is that like? You went, I guess we fast forward. You the oldest or youngest?
I'm the youngest.
You're the youngest? Okay.
Yeah.
Is it a situation where she dropped out first and then you were like, my sis did it, so I can do it?
Yeah, I don't think it was necessarily that. I mean, I tried. My brain could just not lock in with the classes. I'm like, why am I taking chemistry? Like, nothing was adding up.
Yeah.
But actually, what had happened was I started going to a community college, and, you just, after you graduate high school, you go to college and you kind of figure out, what do I want to do? So I signed up for something generic like communications degree.
Yeah.
And back then I was creating custom MySpace pages because I had learned how to do that in high school.
Oh, wow.
And when I was in college, somebody offered me money to create a custom MySpace page. And I'm like, you're going to pay me to do something that I already do for fun and for free? And that was my introduction to entrepreneurship. There was nothing in my mind that was like, I'm going to be an entrepreneur. I have a dream to run my own business. It was just, I loved, nerding out on the internet and coding and creating designs.
Yeah.
And so that was my first business, being a freelance designer and then eventually running, an online agency.
So you weren't the type of kid that was selling candy or selling, I don't know, the different pizzas to go on the trips like that. You wasn't always entrepreneurial in that way.
I wasn't selling candies, but I was doing people's senior projects for pay, so that was really fun for me.
So there are traces.
There's traces, but it was more so on the nerdy side. Like, I loved building websites. I was in like chat rooms and stuff when I was younger. And it's like, in hindsight, that's just not very safe at all.
Yeah.
But I was very fascinated with the internet. And I think that was like really what it was.
What was it? AOL? What was it called?
Yeah, we had AOL. We had AIM, which was the instant messenger. What it was. Yeah, I was in Yahoo chat rooms.
Yeah.
Because I got the internet in my house when I was 6 years old. So that was like my first introduction of it.
Wow.
So I was just really fascinated.
So I always ask people this: nature or nurture? Do you feel like, it was just who you are? Now, looking back, you become this successful entrepreneur, or do you feel like having the internet, having a mom and dad that were at least risky enough to move all the way across the world, do you think they nurtured it in you, or do you think you just got it naturally?
I think that they nurtured work ethic and faith in me. I don't think that they nurtured entrepreneurship.
Okay.
And so I think they wanted my work ethic to go towards working for somebody else, but only because that was what they saw. You live in a different country and you see on the media what the American dream is, right? You go to school, you get a degree, you get a good job, and you work there for 25 to 40 years, whatever that time frame is. I have no context of it because I have no desire to even know. But whatever they told people the American dream was, yeah. And so, at the time, I think when you're starting on entrepreneurship, one of the most challenging things is you realize the people closest to you don't support you while strangers do. And so a lot of people get offended by that. I was one of those people. I was really hurt that my parents didn't support me dropping out of college. And in hindsight, it's like, girl, you're dropping out of college to make club flyers. Like, of course they're not gonna, what do you think? So
of course they don't understand this.
Of course they don't. You're dropping out to make MySpace pages. Girl, please. You're in debt for that. Like, what are we doing? So
how long did you go and get the rack up some debt? And was it 1 year, 2 years?
I was in college on and off for 5 years before I finally dropped out.
Like, I'm done.
Yeah, I was done. So it was like, I did the community college thing for 2 years, and then I went to the university and I was like, oh, this is a lot. And then I took a semester off, and then I went back and I had to take another semester off because my grades weren't good. Then I went back. And I remember like the day that I was done, I was working with a client, and he had an expo going on in Vegas, and I had designed all of his designs for the expo, and I had made sure like all of the print material and stuff got to Vegas on time for him. And he was really stressed about it. And he was so grateful. And he was like, I'll fly you and my boyfriend at the time. He was like, I'll fly you guys out so you can come see the work that you did. And so I, went to all of my professors and I'm like, hey, I'm going out of town for a business trip. Can I take any tests early or make them up when I get back? And one of my instructors was like, no, you'll just have to, fail the test if you miss it and hope that your best grade can replace that. Because you remember how they used to do that in school? And it's like, this don't make no sense. So in my brain, I'm like, how am I paying tuition for you guys to tell me I have to fail? I just didn't go back because it wasn't adding up. And I also I didn't like it.
I didn't mean to cough there, but that is, that's impressive. The way you were thinking at that time to even try to negotiate and say, look, this is what I got going on. Let's try to, meet in the middle.
Yeah.
And for them to say no. And then you'd be like, well, wait a minute. I'm paying y'all. to teach me.
Right.
And you're going to force me to fail? That is backwards.
It is backwards. I was like,
you had early backwards recognition. Like, this don't make no sense.
Yeah.
And I'm a proponent. I like school. I like the idea of people going. I think there's some stuff you can learn in it. I think some people have and can use it for good.
Mm-hmm.
But I also agree with what you're saying. If it ain't working for you, you've got to kind of know that.
Yeah.
And you've got to kind of stand on that.
For sure. I didn't love traditional education, but I was very intentional about being educated. And so although I didn't love the classes I was in, I would be on YouTube for 10 hours a day studying my craft as a designer and coding and how I can be better at making websites. And so if you don't have, like a personality trait of somebody who can self-initiate and, discipline yourself to do something without somebody telling you, probably school or working a job is going to be best for you. And there's nothing wrong with that, right? It's very easy being told what to do and being able to do it. And that's a beautiful thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then in entrepreneurship, it's you have to tell yourself what to do and you have to actually stick to your word and get it done.
And get it done. And that's such a nuanced thing. But I think that's good advice for everyone listening. Like, if you have the ability to self-start, to show that initiative, you might just be an entrepreneur. If you don't, you might need to get yourself a boss. Yeah. And maybe you need more structure, and you have to be able to recognize that in yourself.
Yeah.
So that's really and you picked up on that early. So now school's over. You're not going back. How was the Vegas trip? Was it good?
The Vegas trip was really fun.
Okay.
It was a great time.
So it fueled the fire. What is mom and dad thinking at this point?
Well, I definitely didn't tell them the same day I did it. I remember this was in November. And after Vegas, Thanksgiving was coming up. So I'm like, now I had to tell them I'm going to see my parents, right? My boyfriend and I are going to go visit them for Thanksgiving. I'm like, shoot, I got to let them know. And I remember just I was living in Charlotte and I was I think I was at Kroger and I was in the middle of the taco aisle because I was going to make taco for dinner that night. And I'm like, just screw it. Just call your mom and tell her. And I'm thinking out of both of my parents, my dad is more so the disciplinarian one. So I'm like, okay, you can tell mom and then mom will tell dad.
Yeah.
So I call and, I have no plan, no strategy of how I'm going to reveal this information. But I was just like, yeah, I'm not going back. And she's like, what do you mean you're not going back? I was like, yeah, I'm not going back. And she starts crying and she starts telling me how there's kids that are dying in Africa to get an education. I'm like, girl, I was so annoyed and frustrated and hurt because I'm like, how is this your reaction? Like, I did something that was a big deal. I'm looking for support. And she's like, thinking my kid's a failure. So
yeah.
I hung up on her. And
So I hung up on Mom Dukes. All right, Mom.
I hung up on her.
I don't have time for this right now.
Yeah. Because I was so angry. And, we didn't talk for a couple of days. But then I called her. My boyfriend at the time, his mom had passed away earlier that year. And he's like, if I were you, I would want to talk to my mom. So I called her and, apologized for hanging up and any of the things that I said. And then my dad, surprisingly, I was surprised at his response because he is more so, again, the disciplinarian. He was just like, if this is what you feel you need to do, then that's what you need to do. So
surprising response.
Very surprising. But then years later, he sent me an email because very much so if my dad to email me, he says, hey, just seeing if you decided to persevere and go back to school. And also, I think, again, because we are African, Africans their children are their prized children. They love to brag on who just graduated from what school, who just got whatever good job. So ain't none of their daughters in the pool for that conversation right now since we both done dropped out. So
y'all done stopped a lot of phone conversations. And
we did. How's Maddie and Maya? Let's change the subject.
Next topic. So let me ask you this though. What do you do? What would you tell entrepreneurs to do, beginning entrepreneurs, when you feel unsupported?
You got to find your community. You got to be very intentional about that. Because I think, again, we seek support from the people who are closest to us, friends, family. You have to take a look around and say, who else is doing what I'm doing? who else has big vision and what rooms do I need to be in, and also be okay with paying money to be in those rooms.
Also being okay with making the investment to be in those rooms. So starting out, you maybe didn't know that, right? So you're feeling unsupported, and what is that like? Is it lonely? Is it sad? Is it feel isolated?
Yeah. I feel like I had support. It just wasn't support from the people who were like the two people who I was closest with, right? My parents. And so I think sometimes we can have all the support in the world, but when it's like, oh, but I want this person to support me. And so I think more so than even just seeking support, because I think we can really find support in so many different places. I think it's be okay with not everybody supporting you. Be okay with the people that you love and that love you not supporting you, because they just don't get the vision.
Yeah.
And when I, like, in hindsight, I can look and see, like, my parents were not necessarily right or wrong in supporting me or not supporting me, but they were justified in their fear. And I think that's all it was. And so I think we also have to give people the grace to understand that they're projecting their own limitations or fear onto us, and that it's not personal.
So it wasn't a personal attack. And we've got to be willing to say the source of my support may not come from the place I'd like it to come from.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
And that's okay.
And I don't need to take it personal. And I don't need to cut off mom and dad forever. And, you called her back after a couple days, but we don't need to like, oh, my parents didn't support me, so they're dead to me. Like,
right.
That's an overreaction.
We don't need all the dramatics.
Yeah.
It's unnecessary. And it's not helpful. Because all that support that you're looking for, it's not a prerequisite to your success. So whether or not people support you, that you want to support you, that you want them seeing your vision, it always comes down to you. Do you believe in you? And so I think sometimes some of that is also us projecting our own lack of belief in ourselves. Like, we're so desperate for other people to believe in us because we lack belief in ourselves. So I think it's, if you are really clear and confident about what you're doing, you're excited for the people that support you, and you actually feel bad for the people that don't.
Right. So, hopping back into the story, so where are we at? Are you a major millionaire, billionaire at this time? Like, no. What happens next? You don't have the support, and if I'm picking up on this right, you haven't yet found the thing that gives them justifiable reason to support.
Right. Yeah, they're still trying to figure it out. So at this time, I think I'm making between $3,000 to $5,000 a month.
Okay.
And that was a lot to me. So I'm 23 years old. Okay. I have roommates. I think my rent at the time was $600, which is like, would we ever see anything like that again?
No, we won't.
Not at all. Lifetime. So sorry to y'all who are starting out and you got to pay rent and figure out entrepreneurship. But so it was a lot of money for me at the time. I really didn't have any bills. And so to me, it was enough to justify me going full time with it. But to my dad, in his mind, he's like, that's not a lot of money. And in my mind, I'm like, yes, it is. And in his mind, he's like, okay, talk to me in 10 years. So, that was good enough money for me. And it was just trial and error. Like, I have no regrets. I would say if I had any regrets, it was that I didn't drop out sooner. Like, it forced me to show up. Now I have no excuses. I can't blame school. I can't blame classes. I can't blame fear. I've already done the scariest thing, which was disappointing my parents. Now I have to go all in and make it work.
That's good. So you're betting on yourself. I'm also secretly getting scared right now because I have two daughters, and I'm like, they are going to
getting scared.
They are going to defy me. In 10 years, they're going to be like, Daddy, no, I'm not doing what you're like. This is going to be so scary.
I know, but here's a perspective. When you're younger, like the closest thing to God in your life is your parents, right? Because that's all you know. They guide you. They tell you what to do. They're literally keeping you alive. And so to me, like, my parents were my God. I didn't necessarily comprehend that in my mind, but I also didn't really have the spiritual maturity to understand that going against them was just me following my intuition, following the Holy Spirit of what I thought I should do. But I couldn't articulate that. I didn't know it. I could just sense it and feel it. And so while my parents are praying for Maya to be successful, I think where there was a little bit of misguidance is that they're praying for me to be successful in their eyes and in their right. And I think what could have made a difference is if they ask God, what is it that you want for our daughter? So we know how to support her. So we know how to pray for her. So now they can alleviate that fear or even that quote unquote ego, for lack of better words, of my daughter is disrespecting me. My daughter is defying me. Cause disrespect and respect is really, big in an African household. They look at disagreement as disrespect. And it's like, it's not that. Right. We just are looking at things differently, and you have to give me the free space to mess up. And if you trust God, you got to trust that God got your daughter.
Right. And you got to trust that what you instilled in me, this Holy Spirit compass that's inside of me, let me rely on it.
Yes.
You've taught me all these years to rely on it. So now let me do it. And while that may feel scary for you, Dad, or me, future father, I'm terrified.
Not you coaching yourself.
Yes, I'm coaching myself through this. I'm so terrified. I know my baby too. My baby, she already defies me. So, okay, so this is good though. So, all right, we're going through, we're becoming an entrepreneur. We're making our money. We're starting to see some success. Does it feel like success right now? I mean, you said it, Dad. You're young.
It feels
You're
great.
young. Okay.
It feels great. And then, of course, I start to see a little bit more success. So, at this time, I'm not even making, 6 figures in my business, which was back then, that's the ultimate goal. I want to make my $100,000.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, how can I make $8,333 per month?
Yeah.
And, at this time, I'm making, some websites here and there. I'm making graphics. I'm making flyers. And I'm like, all I have to do is make 67 flyers per month to hit my goal. And in my mind, I'm like, the math is mathing in my head. And it's like, girl, where the hell are you going to find 67 people per month? Like, you need a new plan. And so that's when I started like learning about, packaging my offers and charging higher prices. I had to become actually business savvy around what I was doing, because it's like, this is your thing for real. This is your career. This is your bread and butter. And you're saying you want to hit this goal. But I think that's the beauty of goals too, because it stretches you to think, right? It's like when I was in college and I'm kind of on the fence about, what am I going to do? Will I get a job? Will I kind of do this thing on the side? When you make the decision, this is what I want to do, this is how much I want to make, you have to force yourself to think of different ways to get there.
Right. No, that's good. So I guess I'm curious now, you're making the money, but when do you hit a wall? Right? You know the number you need. Is there any point where it's like, I can't get to the 8,033, or my repackaging, my first chance at repackaging fails?
Yeah.
And I get, tell us about the first major failure. Because it seems like right now you're on the uptrend.
I'm on the up and up.
You're on the up and up.
Yeah.
You done told mom and daddy, nope, y'all like God to me, but I'm doing my own thing. And I'm going to follow God for myself, which I think there's a huge lesson in that. And I love that you said that, but everything's going up. When do you ever see a little dip?
I would say it was the first year before I had my first 6 figures. So this was maybe 2015. I'm 25 years old. And I think that year I maybe made $89,000. And in my mind, I'm like, what's that gap? Because to start having, my first $8,000 months, 5-figure months, and then kind of like regress a little bit, I was trying to figure out, well, what happened? Because I'm like, I didn't feel like it was a strategy thing. I felt like it was a mindset thing. And I'm like, what's happening mindset-wise, energetically, spiritually, that's blocking me from making this money? And one of my personal core values, even though I wasn't able to articulate it at the time, is personal responsibility. What did I do wrong that kept me from making the money? I didn't necessarily think more people should have paid me, or I felt entitled to something. And so I started just kind of thinking about what was going on. And I just felt like, one, I wasn't in the right environment. And because generosity is another core value, I always found myself giving away my money, but I had poor boundaries around how much I was giving away and who I was giving to. And so there was like this subconscious block in my mind that was like, what is the point of you making money if you don't get to enjoy any of it for yourself? And so that's when I started really heavily focusing on the mindset work. I read a book called Boundaries by two Christian psychologists, Henry Cloud and John Townsend.
Okay.
Because while I love mindset, I always love to have some scripture to kind of back up that personal development.
Give us that
advice.
scripture.
Give me that scripture so I could back it up.
Yes.
Because I love spirituality, but I try not to go too much into the woo-woo. I'm like, let me make sure a little bit of Christ is in here.
Right,
so I read that book. That helped me a lot with boundaries, being able to say no without feeling, guilty. So that helped. And then I started reading other mindset books. I started reading The Power of Your Subconscious Mind, The Science of Getting Rich. And then the next year I had my first $100,000 year. And then the year after that, it was like 180. Then the year after that, it was a little over 300. Then the year after that, it was my first million. So I started to see like this growth. And then I don't think I hit a wall again until maybe like 2021 or 2022.
So it wasn't just mumbo jumbo. It wasn't just like, oh, just believe in yourself and like it was what why do you think the mindset thing was a key that unlocked this new level in you?
I think just having an expansive mindset of what is possible. The books for sure, the environments, the things I was consuming. I was also reading like a lot of books. I studied a lot of experts, and I would read blogs of people who were making tens of thousands of dollars, $100,000 a month blogging or creating content. And so seeing what is possible makes such a huge difference. It just expands your mind into like, yo, I could really do this if I actually declare that I want to do it. And so I think seeing what is possible, being in the right environments. I had hired my first business coach in 2014, so I'm sure that absolutely played a part in it. And I think what I really loved about The Power of Your Subconscious Mind is it really highlights your thinking habits, right? I think a lot of us have really poor mental hygiene and what our thoughts are.
Mental hygiene.
Yeah.
Ooh, I love that. How to use that.
Yeah. And so we just have negative thoughts. A lot of like psychologists call it ants, right? Automatic negative thoughts. And we're always thinking about like, I'm going to be a failure, or I'm not good enough, or I don't deserve this. And it's like, dang, you are listening to your voice all day long. You have to be intentional about what you're saying and what you're believing. And so that's when I also got really intentional about affirmations. And I would just like, I would write out affirmations in scripture that was in alignment with what I wanted for my life. And I would look at it every single day. And I remember I had this inspirational wall, and I had done it from apartment to apartment. And I had one wall that said I wanted to make $20K. And I'm like, I have no idea where $20,000 is going to come from. But when you see that again, when you set that target, it forces you to show up to do the work to do it and to figure it out. If I only had a goal in life right now to make $5,000 a month, I would be making $5,000 a month.
Yeah.
If I have a goal to make $20,000 a month, I'm going to make $20,000. When you set the goal, you will figure it out. And so I remember having the first 20,000, I'm like, yo, I don't even know how I did it, but thank God I wrote it down. Then I remember moving to another apartment. I had this like inspiration wall. I wrote 100% debt free. I wrote $40,000 a month, and I wrote live weekend event. And I did all of those. And I'm like, I don't even know how it happened. I mean, obviously God and faith and doing the actual work, of course, because faith has to match with works. But it's like writing it down and seeing it come to fruition. It's like, thank God I was intentional about expanding my mind and like doing the work.
But this is so good because you have actually done the thing.
Yeah.
You've actually put the pieces in place, but you're sitting here as you recap telling us the linchpin, the biggest part was the mind.
For sure. 100%.
The biggest part was I can do that thing.
Yeah.
I'm setting that big goal. I'll get there once I set the goal.
Yeah.
And so is that a problem for entrepreneurs? Are we just not setting goals that are expansive enough?
Yeah. I think we're just so limited with our thinking because of our environment. And I think one of the things I'm really grateful for is how early I started. Like I started before, like when Facebook, you had to have an actual college email. I started before Instagram was around.
Right.
I started when we were just on Twitter for fun. And so I didn't have a lot of competition or comparison. And so I think now with entrepreneurship, industries are so noisy and people are constantly comparing themselves to people who have already been in the game for, 10 years. And it's like, girl, you got to give yourself some grace.
Right.
Like you have to be okay with being bad for your first year, your second year, your third year. It's okay. Like, I think what people also have to understand, I tell this to my clients in my community, it took me 7 years. Actually, it took me 9 years to make my first 100,000.
Wow.
Right? I started freelance designing in 2008. I made my first $100,000 in 2017. I wasn't really that good for a lot of years, And so, but I just kept going. So I think it's the comparison and it's the desire to like rush into success without really respecting the process.
And like you're saying, we see the timeline and we start comparing. We wrote the big goal down. We did that part.
Yeah.
But we think it happens tomorrow.
Right.
And because it doesn't, maybe I should be doing something else. Maybe I need to pivot to something different.
This is a sign from God that I need to pivot.
Right. I need to pivot. And I've been doing it 2 weeks and I didn't make 100,000.
I wish I had more eyes to roll.
I wish I had more eyes to roll.
Okay.
So, but how do you deal with discouragement? I mean, to the core of her, you're going in 9 years, how many times did you want to leave and do something else or go back to school or go get a job or...
I never want to go back to school, I'll tell you that. But I did deal with discouragement. And maybe that's part of it too. It's like, girl, what are you going to go back to? I never had a corporate job. But that doesn't mean that I didn't deal with discouragement. I just didn't deal with it in terms of wanting to go back. I think with discouragement, something that is really helpful is just having a community, right? Christians say, like when you're dealing with something, you need to have somebody that can stand in the gap for you.
Right.
And so you need that community where you can say, I'm just not feeling it today. Like, can you pray for me or can we co-work together or just whatever it is?
Yeah.
Also having a community of people who are also transparent with what they have going on. Because sometimes we feel like we are the only person going through the thing that we are going through.
Right.
And it's like, you're not at all. I remember when I went through one of the most discouraging seasons of my business. And I was having a conversation with a friend who is more senior in entrepreneurship than I am. And he's like, that's a Tuesday in entrepreneurship. And for me, I was kind of pissed because I'm like, you're minimizing something that is like so devastating to me. And now in hindsight, I see it's like, girl, this is a Wednesday afternoon. It is what it is. But knowing that you're not the only person going through it, nobody's after you. This is not an attack from the devil. This is the ups and downs of entrepreneurship, and it's not a sign to quit. It's a sign that you're in the game and you're playing.
It's funny that you mentioned that because I just recently was reading or listening to Phil Knight's book, the founder of Nike.
Yeah.
And I'm listening to the book and I'm like, he only goes through maybe the first, 10, 15 years of his company. But it's like every year he's dealing with a major challenge.
Yeah.
It's like first, I didn't think my dad was discouraged me. I couldn't sell shoes. And the next year I couldn't find a manufacturer. Then I finally found one. Then we couldn't supply. And then we got sued by the government because we brought in too much inventory. It's like, and it's teaching me while I'm listening. So I'm like, oh, this is normal.
This is normal.
These challenges, these mountains you climb are part of entrepreneurship. So
yeah,
that's really good. That's really good. Let me
I think a big part of the challenges is sometimes we're so focused on the destination, but we are not cognizant of the person we have to become to maintain the level of success that we desire. And there's no way I would be able to maintain a level of success of running a 7-figure company, being a leader to the people on my team, had I not faced a lot of those challenges. Like those challenges help you build the muscle that's required to be strong enough to withstand all the things that you're going to go through.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So you're actually becoming the person you need to be for the success you say you want through every trial that you're going through.
100%.
And you don't know that at the time.
Yeah.
But you got to go through it and say, now I'm stronger. Now I'm wiser.
Yeah.
Now I know how to deal with this challenge. Let me ask you this, because you talked about being focused in your business now on faith-based folks or women, faith-based women. And so, and you talked about how in Christendom, we always talk about standing in the gap, praying for each other. I'll pray for you. But how do you take Christian women from just praying for you to getting paid with you or getting money? Like what? I think I feel you, and I feel like there's a connection here because I feel like church people, because my dad was a pastor. Mm-hmm. I grew up in church. We was in the era where you mess up, you come back, you get saved, and you cry for hours, and then you mess up again, you come back. You get saved every revival. Uh-huh. And I've seen these people, and I respect these people, but most of the people that I saw over a course of really growing up, those 20 years, I never seen them get no real money like that.
That's exactly why I was in this space. I was posting yesterday about righteous anger. And because, right now we're dealing with the results of the election and people are angry and all of that, which Lord. Is fine, and I'm like, we got to stay focused though, right? Mm-hmm. And it's not to minimize people's feelings about it. You have two options. You either take your anger and you could do something meaningful, or you choose peace. That has to be your options, because to sit around and just feel something internally that you're allowing to disturb your peace and not doing something about it, mm-hmm. There's no ROI to that. Like, what are we doing? So when it comes to righteous anger, I'm saying like there's something that fires you up so much inside that disturbs your peace that you're like, I am willing to do the work to create a solution. And so for me, the reason I brought this up is because I would see Christians who they wanted to have real impact. They wanted to make a difference in the world, but they couldn't because they kept falling short financially. And I'm like, this is embarrassing. Yeah. This is embarrassing, right? It was like, that angered me because I'm like, how can we continuously say we serve a God of abundance, limitless abundance, but we keep continuing to limit our own abundance?
Wow.
We're so limited. We're always lacking, but we serve an almighty God.
That's amazing. Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
Thank you. So that was my righteous anger. I'm like, I can't deal with seeing broke Christians anymore. Let's learn the strategies to get out of this.
And so does that what is so? Because when did you stop just doing the flyers for folks? Not to diss that. I mean, doing flyers is dope.
It's just like, how do we go from flyers to business strategy for Christians?
To fixing people's, I'm trying to think, because you're fixing faith people's finances. Because faith people's finances need fixing. It's like the people that love the Lord the most is some of the brokest people well, I won't speak for, let me relax. Because obviously people of faith are very powerful people, and money is not always a barometer of how impactful they've been on earth. Mm-hmm. So let's obviously say that. But as you and I can agree to, how did you make that transition and pivot to something a little bit a higher level of a playing field?
Yeah. Well, my transition from the graphic design to the coaching is I recognize, people are paying me to build their websites and create their social media graphics and all of that. But there was a disconnect between them looking good online and actually making money online. And that gap was strategy. They didn't know how to sell. They didn't know how to articulate their value. That's how I got into messaging. I'm really like, if we hone in, I'm a messaging expert. How can you clearly articulate what you do? And how can you clearly articulate why it's valuable to a buyer? And so I started getting really good at that. And that is when I started focusing on the business strategy, because I'm like, so many people spend a lot of money on the website and the logo and the fonts and the graphics. And it's like, none of that matters if you don't know how to communicate why people should buy from you. And so that's how I transitioned into that. And then, of course, the faith side is like, being a good person is not a good enough of a reason for people to buy from you. Being Black and wanting people to support Black-owned businesses, that's not a good enough reason for people to, want to buy from you. So you have to learn how to actually be clear on what is the value that you're bringing to your marketplace, and how do you want to sell it? How do you want to price it? How do you want to package it?
No, that's awesome. And so how do we do that? Like, what are some tips? Like, so in the journey of entrepreneurship, if you've got all your, if you're focused on your graphics right now, is that the wrong thing? Or should you do it simultaneously? Should you be improving your image while getting your messaging on point.
Yeah.
Or if you had to pick one, it's get your doggone messaging right.
Yeah. I mean, that's a great question because there's so many things. And I think it's so easy to get distracted and like, what should I be doing? Should I grow my social media? Should I be sending out emails? Should I be on YouTube? Should I get a logo? Should I do a photo shoot? Should I get a copywriter?
Right.
And I mean, I deeply believe that the first thing you need to do is get clear on your message because everything else is going to derive from that. What your website needs to say derives from your message. How you want to show up in your images derives from your message. Your messaging, if you're trying to figure out what your message is, your messaging is broken down into 3 parts: who you are, who you serve, and how you serve them. So if you're booking a photo shoot and you want to communicate who you are, you won't be able to do that without defining who you are.
Right.
When you're wanting to build an audience online and you want to grow your social media, you won't be able to grow your social media with potential buyers until you define who you serve. When you are ready to make money, when you are ready to make sales, you're not going to know what to sell and what to price it at until you're able to answer the question, how you serve them. So I would say mastering your message is the first thing. Who you are, who you serve, how you serve them. You figure that out, you package an offer. I would say start having conversations with people. The art of market research is so lost because there's just so much of an entitlement of, I have a social media and I have a checkout page people should buy. And it's like, you don't know why people are buying or not buying because you're not having enough conversations with people. And I think part of that is the coaching space is so industry because I just see a lot of advice that floats around and, you know, some of the advice or the attitude that's around is like, you shouldn't be in my DMs trying to pick my brain. It's like, you might want to let some people pick your brain and you should pick their brain back because you have no idea people's buying habits and buying philosophies because you haven't had a conversation with anybody who could be a potential customer.
You think just the shopping cart gets it done.
You thought that checkout page and the logo was going to do it.
And it's not. You got to really know why there's a book out that I've read years ago called Why We Buy. And it's an older book talking about retail spaces and, you know, what happens when we go in stores and crowded aisles sometimes make people want to leave the aisle. But I love what you're saying is that you need to do that in this day and age, in this social media age, like just have conversations with people. And it's, you know what I think is weird? People, I guess we don't want to accept fully. I guess it's a generational thing. Because I may be I was when Facebook first started, you know, all that, you got to have the college email. And it was, to me, I always seen it as a joke. I always thought it was like, this isn't real. Poking each other on Facebook. You remember that. And it was like, this is a joke. So I have, anybody who know me back in school, I have a whole different Facebook that I still, if I look up the password, I can still get into. Got all my college pictures and all that foolishness. You know, Lord, you know, pray for that. You know, Lord's deliver me from that, I believe. But, you know, with that piece of it, like, are we not really realizing, like, no, you can actually meet somebody online now. Yeah. Like, I literally reached out to you. And now you're here. Yeah. We don't know each other from a man in the moon.
At all. I could have been getting kidnapped too, even you. But I'm glad this is a real podcast interview.
But it's like, how do we balance that knowing that, you know, you're still kind of scared, like, I don't know people. But like, no, these are real people and you need to pursue real conversations with them to learn and potentially figure out what does somebody need? Yeah. And what would make them open their pocketbook to get a solution? Yeah. Like, so how do you do that in a respectful, not weird, not, you know, I don't know, scary way?
The simplest form is you provide value and you invite people to have a conversation with you. Yeah. I think, you know, open up your calendar, 15-minute calls with people. We call them discovery calls, sales calls, right? Put out value. If you find that people are sending you messages, you find that they are wanting to pick your brain or whatever, just put a process around that. Hey, I'd love to be able to answer your questions. Book a 15-minute call with me. And let them ask their questions, but then you also ask them questions like, are you actively looking for whatever your service is? Are you actively looking for a coach? Are you actively looking for a graphic designer? Are you actively looking for a whatever? And see where their thought process is. what would you need to see in order to invest $1,500 in working with a coach? What would you need to see in order to invest $500 in a social media manager? Don't be afraid to ask questions. These people are just people.
Yeah.
I think we're just so afraid. And it's like, what are they going to do to you? They can't do anything to you. Get the answers you need.
Yeah, just talk to them.
Yeah.
And is that how you started? When you started getting clients and, more maybe making bigger investments in themselves, or is it just like, hey, what do you need what do you think you need from a business coach?
Yeah. When I started, I had built my brand, which is really important, right? So this is my recommendation if you're starting from scratch and you don't have a lot of rapport with an online audience. When I started, I was also blogging. So people were familiar with me as a freelancer, and they were interested in working with me. I showed my work as a designer. I gave my insights from the point of view of a brand strategist. I was on a lot of podcast interviews. So I had already positioned my expertise. So I was attracting people who would come to me and they're wondering how they could work with me. But if I ever find myself in a gap of, I'm not sure what to sell next, or I feel like there's something a little bit more that my audience wants, I have no problem asking people, what is it that you're looking for?
Yeah.
Basically like, how can I earn your business?
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Not being afraid to ask that.
No, that's great. So what's next for you? Like you've been on this journey. And the reason I ask this is because, once you hit a level of success, like say $1 million earner, or you've seen these type of figures, I guess I asked it for multiple reasons, but is there ever a stopping point? Do you ever feel like this insatiableness of, are we not satisfied? Do entrepreneurs get to this point where like, it's never enough? Since we can just put the number up there and get it.
Right. Yeah. Right.
So how does that feel? Once you hit the goal, what's after the goal?
Yeah. I mean, it was definitely simpler back then to put the number up and hit it. It's a little bit harder now.
Yeah.
Especially as the goal gets bigger. And honestly, I think it's different for different people. There's this book that I love called Relentless, by Tim Grover, and he was the performance coach for Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant and just all of the greats, like the champions. And I love how he talks about they just have this champion mindset. And there's 3 like archetypes that he describes in the book. There's a cleaner, a closer, and a cooler. And the cooler is the person that they don't do nothing. They're not self-starters. They relying on everybody else to get stuff done. They're full of excuses. We don't even know those people. You should not be that person.
Yes.
The closer is the person they're a hard worker. They're going to get it done. They're willing to do the work. They might still need somebody to pour into them every once in a while. Closers are great. I identify as a closer. I have seasons where I'm a cleaner, which I'm going to describe. The cleaner is the person, how he described a closer and a cleaner. He says, a closer trusts their instincts. And if you're a cleaner, your instincts trust you. You're moving just so naturally, like you just get it. And you're never satisfied because you know that there's so much more to you. And so I think there are some people like that. Those people are crazy. That's a small percentage of people. And, I don't like to describe things in good or bad. So whether or not you identify as that, it's not good or bad. It just is what it is. And so I do think that there's a balance. I like to look at myself as a closer because I also look at there's purpose and there's potential. And I think there are some people who are cleaners and they're high performers. Sometimes they are so focused on their potential that they can miss out on their purpose. Meaning you're doing all these things because you have the capacity to do it, because you can do it. Like, I can do this. I can run 13 miles if I want. I can build a multi-million-dollar business, but you're missing the purpose of being at home and spending time with your family. You're missing the purpose of being a better father and a husband.
Right.
And so that's kind of my perspective when I look at some cleaners. It's like, just don't miss your purpose while you're fulfilling your potential. And then there's, people who are like, I want to make sure I'm going after my purpose. Like, I could do the work and make the sacrifices required to run $100 million business, but at what cost? And so you just got to look at what your costs are. And I also feel like I'm starting to notice a trend with men and women, and I'm generally speaking, right? If we're generalizing how men are and generalizing how women are, and you see a lot of like talk online now about like masculine energy and feminine energy.
Yeah.
Like the masculine is like, I'm chasing this stuff down. Like I'm hunting, I'm getting to the bag, I'm going hard.
Yeah.
And I think for a lot of my career, it was like I was in my masculine energy and it was fun and it was great and it served me well. I have no problem. Baby, that feminine energy is happening and I'm like, let's shut it down, God. Okay, whatever other purpose you got for me, close it out by the end of 2025 because I'm tired, okay? And, I saw one of my peers answering a question about like, what advice would you give to young women who, want to be better with their finances? And she's like, make as much money as you can, in like a 10-year time span, but learn how to invest so you're not working for the rest of your life.
Right.
Men don't really want to retire. Like when I look at my dad, he just recently retired. He's so bored. He's so bored. I have to find something for him to do. But then he laughs at me because he's like, Maya, you're 34 and you talk about you want to retire. You have a while to go, baby girl. And I'm like, Dad, I'm tired. Okay.
Yeah.
So I think there's the masculine side of us is always going to want to like strive for something. We're striving for goals. And I think that's great. And that's in men and women. And then I think the softer side of us is like, I want a little bit more ease. I want a little bit more of this soft life.
Yeah.
So it just really depends on what season you're in.
I want to ask this, and it just came to me, like successful women, right? In terms of love and relationships and that sort of, you hear people talk online like a successful man doesn't want a successful woman because she's balling out or she's winning so much, or it's a jealousy thing, or it's when are we gonna have time for each other, all that sort of thing. So what would you tell to people that are nervous about that? Like, you've obviously been successful. Is there a sacrifice there? Is it fine? Is it like, would you change anything?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? What's your thought on that?
I mean, honestly, I think it's different for different people. I think when we have conversations about men and women in relationships, it's just not done in a loving and tactful way.
Yeah.
I find that when some men are saying like, I don't want a successful woman, I think they're saying that they don't want a woman who looks at them and says, I don't need you. There's nothing wrong with a woman being successful. It's a beautiful thing. And most like successful men, they want a woman that understands success and how they move because she can understand you better, right? She understands the late night. She understands baby, I got to spend 18 hours today working. Like, I'm going to push our date night back to whatever. Like, you have to, I would imagine you're going to want a woman who understands that, but she's going to understand that through experience, not just by looking at you, right? And so I think it's more so than on the side for women when we want to be successful and all of that, and we get so much pride on independence. It's understanding like, be proud of what you've done, but don't make that mean that you don't need somebody. And I used to have that thought process of like, I enjoyed dating because I recognize like, I don't need a man, right? Like I see that there are some women who are like, I need a man that makes money because I really ain't got it.
Right.
And I'm like,
because I ain't gonna be able to eat if I don't.
Right, exactly. And I'm like, I like dating because you actually have to have a good personality, like regardless of what's in your pockets. But I think it's also understanding like, we are designed to be in community. We all actually need each other, but I think we're just so afraid to say it because we're leading with ego to not be hurt. We're leading with ego to not be embarrassed. And I used to be like, oh, I don't need a man because I didn't literally need one for revenue or for finances or to take care of me. But it's like, if you desire a husband, like you need a husband to do things that you can't do for yourself, not in the aspects of like, I need my husband to go put gas in my car or I need my husband to pay the bills. But it's like, I need and I desire companionship and I deserve that. And it's okay to admit that.
Right. It's okay to be vulnerable in that way and still be strong in the boardroom or in the meeting and negotiate and know your worth and still be like, yeah, I just want somebody to kick it with.
Yeah, I'm going to do all of that. And then at the end of the day, I need to go cuddle on the couch.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's like, I think your person is going to create space for you to be who you need to be. And you guys find that level of compromise where you both feel seen, heard, and loved. And you'll be good. So I think once we stop operating in ego, we can find that balance.
Because a lot of what we do through social and through that, it's like we're all putting our best self forth, our best picture, our best oh, this is what I'm doing today, da 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 da.
Yeah.
And that does lend itself more towards ego and pride, and it's not the vulnerable, oh, I got ketchup on my face, or I'm, or I'm a dork sometimes, or I say stupid things. Like that vulnerability, I think it sometimes does get lost when everyone's trying to put their best self forward.
For sure.
Like,
yeah, you want to be the cool version online, and it's like, it's just be a little nerdy sometimes. It's okay.
Just be yourself. No, I think that's good. Hopefully that helps people. That's like, I think it's, to your point, I think I call BS, right? You don't know who somebody wants or doesn't want.
Right.
Like, you don't know, a successful man might love a successful woman. A successful woman might love a successful man, or a successful woman might not want. It varies. You fall in love with whoever you fall in love with. Like, let's not act like, oh, power couple. Well, you don't know what power couples go through.
Right.
And you don't know what non-power couple. Like, there's it's just to each his own. But of course, on social, it looks cool for everyone to say like,
right,
oh, this and that. Like, no, just, I think your advice is sound. Like, be vulnerable, be open to it, and be open to things that may not fit the egotistical description or really size up great on paper.
Right.
But there might be great connection there, to your point.
Yeah. And how you said to each its own, I think not enough people know themselves. You're saying what you want, what you don't want. You don't even know yourself to really know what you need.
Yeah.
So a lot of, the thing about social media is we're trying so hard to put on a facade that we're putting up an image and not our real selves. And so it's like, you're describing what the image wants.
Right.
Not what your soul needs and desires. And so I think that's where a lot of the gap is too. It's the ego, it's the mask. And it's like, that's the mask will attract that, and you're going to get bored, you're going to get tired, you're going to get hurt because you're still not being fulfilled with what you truly desire.
That facade that we keep putting up, we're putting it up so much that we're getting confused by it. We don't even know who we are at this point.
For sure.
Talk about a little bit, I know we got to wrap up, but talk about community and how community helps peel some layers back, helps you be good entrepreneurially, helps you be stronger, emotionally as a person, all that sort of thing.
Man, community is so important. And I think it was something that I didn't realize how much, men and women need community. Actually, I feel like men need it more because they struggle with the level of vulnerability, right? Like for girls and women, it's easy for us to be like, let's go out of town together. Let's have a sleepover. We hug each other and nobody's like, you're gay. You know what I mean? So it's like men absolutely need community. But I'm speaking from the point of view of women because that's what I foster for my audience. And, I have this live event called Impact Weekend, and it's every year in Atlanta and in person. And I didn't realize how much people just needed to be around people that were just cheering them on. Just next to a stranger that was like, I see you, sis, or I'm praying for you. And creating a safe space. I remember when I first hosted Impact Weekend on a larger scale in 2020 before everything had shut down. I remember saying to myself, like, the number one feeling that I want these women to feel is to feel safe. This is your safe space to not know the answers. This is your safe space to ask the stupid questions. This is your safe space to feel nervous. This is your safe space to be like, I have social anxiety, but I've made the scary decision to show up to this event anyway.
Yeah.
And so being in an environment where you can feel safe allows you to actually expand more because you're not going to be hurt for expressing your true desires. You're not going to be hurt for being authentic where you are. And it just gives you the opportunity to just show up and do the work that you're called to do.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Like, I wish, to your point, we all had that. I wish we all could be open enough to it. But you mentioned this earlier too. How much should we be willing to invest in it? Like, because there's this thought, even with business coaching, even with anything, with strangers. I don't know you. Why would I have to? Is it authentic for me to pay to get to know someone or is that, so
I think that's a legitimate question, right? Because we're like, well, I don't have to pay to go to church. And it's like, okay, we'll go to church then. I don't know what to tell you. I think in the business aspect or just any area where you want to level up, any area where you want to be intentional, I think we would just be so much further if we had already developed the mindset of investing, right? Like that pay to play mindset. because I talk to my clients about this, even when they do pay to be in the room and they're like, well, how do you have these relationships? Did you pay for? Yes, I paid and I'm grateful that I did.
Yeah.
And it doesn't make my higher up relationships less meaningful. I have meaningful relationships with people that I've met in rooms that I paid to be in. I think those people actually understand me because they saw enough value in themselves to pay. I like being around people who believe in themselves enough to spend money.
Right.
And so I know those people aren't operating with the lack mindset. If you want to be around expansive people who believe in themselves, those people are in the room who have paid, right? You will find some relationships that are natural or authentic that you didn't have to pay for, but there's going to be instances in your life, whether it's community, it's coaching or whatever, where you have to say, if I truly value this, I'm going to put my money where my mouth is. There's got to be some monetary value behind this.
I like that. So say this, have you ever taken an L paying to get in a room or to connect with someone? And how did you mentally deal with that?
Oh, that is such a good question, because here, I honestly don't know where some of this wisdom comes from, right? Like sometimes as I say answers, I'm like, when did this transition happen? But I think it's just God in me talking.
Yeah, it's God.
When I first joined a mastermind and I paid to be in a room, man, the first opportunity I had to be in a room to go to a 3-day conference, I think the investment was like $1,000, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm 23 or 24 at this time. And it's like at 23, I just dropped out of college. I'm making decent money, but I don't even know what the heck a savings account is. So it's like, I'm nervous, but I do the payment plan. And I remember one of my friends had the opportunity to make the same investment. Years later, my business is doing well. Years later, she's in the same place. And so everybody has their thing with money. This is not to shame anybody, but I've always been intentional about making it happen. Then after that event, I had the opportunity to work with a business coach. I'm 24 at the time, and this is a $12,000 to $15,000 investment. I don't have $12,000 to $15,000 in my bank account, but I'm gonna figure out a way. We moving things from savings to checkings to I'm gonna try to sell a flyer. Like we gonna do whatever we got to do, right? When you're serious about something, you're gonna do the work to make it happen. Mm-hmm. And so anyway, I think I had to put down like a $2,000 down payment, and I was paying $1,000 a month. So that's how I was able to make it happen. And I say all that to say, why did I start telling this story?
I'm asking because I asked you about.
Have I ever been disappointed? Yeah. Okay. So I say all that to say, I make this investment, but in my mind, I didn't think, because here's where people go wrong when they invest in business coaching or whatever you're buying. People will come to me and say, they'll want to join my program, they'll pay, and they'll be like, I wanted to invest in you. And I'm like, you didn't invest in me. You invested in yourself through me. And when I was 24 and I made that decision to be in this $12,000 to $14,000 coaching program, instantly I thought to myself, I'm worth it, because I proved it to myself.
Yeah.
I don't need a client to tell me I'm worth $12,000. I've already literally made that decision and proved it by making the investment in myself through this opportunity. Mm-hmm. So I also say that because, people be like, oh, I spent this money and I didn't get it. And it's like, energetically, it's not about, did you get the direct ROI immediately, right? Mm-hmm. Sometimes wherever you make the investment, the return can come from somewhere else. And that is my thought process. Obviously, when you make an investment, you want to work with somebody who's operating in integrity. You want to be able to get the value. So I'm not negating that.
Right.
I'm just saying that when you make the investment in yourself, know that the return is coming.
Yeah. It may not be immediate.
Yeah.
But it is coming because simply because you made it.
Yeah. I really just deeply believe that every single time I sow a seed, that the fruit is always coming from God and not necessarily where I planted the seed.
Ooh, that's good. That's good. That's good. You mentioned something about like the investment and making investments. Mm-hmm. Like even that line of thinking that how I use my money. And we talk about that a lot on the journey. Like, because I think what happens is that, and I say this sometimes, people scam themselves. So I'm going to pay you to get in the room.
Yeah.
But because I don't have a foundation of investing and using my money wisely in general, I'm thinking I'm getting magic. When instead, to your point, even the way you've been talking, ROI. My return is coming. If it don't come here, it might come from here. Like, that's a different thinking level.
Yeah.
Versus, oh, if I buy this, all my problems are going to go away. Like, that's that magic tree, that sort of poverty sort of mindset. Oh, I'm just going to be able to pay for a thing. And it's, it's like, no, paying for something and really investing in something's a different type of thinking. And I don't know, I like the way you put that. Like, I guess the question out of this is, when people come to you, do you ever have to help them start to see that, okay, this is an investment? And how you work with your money in general, you have to be thinking about investments and not just spending.
Right.
Right? Like,
yeah, because some people, I think maybe they have that like get rich quick mindset, and it's like that. It doesn't work like that.
Right.
You invest and you do the work to make sure, to do your best to get the return, because the return might not look how you want it to, right? Like, that's the thing. I think some people are afraid of investing because they're risk averse. They are so nervous that they're not going to get exactly what they see. So I've definitely had instances where we've had to remind clients, the investment gave you the access. You have to do the work.
You still have to do the work.
Yeah. So it's like your payment isn't just the money. Your payment is the money plus the work and showing up when it's hard.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But you said something about people be scamming themselves. I don't even know where to go with that, because there's so many ways I could go. But I think sometimes we scam ourselves and we self-sabotage ourselves by not making the decision. And I actually just posted this about Threads yesterday. I said, I wish in our community, we would stop doing that nonsense of telling people, I can't believe you're spending money on that.
Yeah.
For stuff that's actually meaningful.
Right.
Right? Like, did you question her having a Gucci belt?
Right.
Did you question her designer shoes? Did you question that $1,500 wig? No, you didn't.
Right.
But when she wants to invest $2,500 to get her social media together, when she wants to invest $5,000 to work with a business coach for a few months because her business has been failing, we want to act real funny like, girl, couldn't be me. It's not you. That's why you broke. So what are we even talking about? So I can't stand that mindset when we think it's so far-fetched to put money into things that matter. We're so like, we put our things into the dumbest stuff. The amount of money I spend on DoorDash is dumb.
Yeah,
it makes no sense. It's like, but would you put that same money into hiring a health coach? Would you put that same money into hiring a personal trainer? But all day you're complaining that you out of shape.
Right.
Did you invest the money?
Right.
So you have to, I wish I could be better at quoting scripture, but the Bible says something about like where your heart is, so your treasure lies, or something like that, right? Yeah. We got to be honest. Let's look at your bank statements. Print the last 3 months of your bank statements and the things, and then write down the things that you say matter to you. If you don't have money going to any of the things that matter to you, you're lying to yourself. The things that matter to you really are the things that you're spending your money on. And if you want to see a change in getting more of the things that matter to you, change how you spend your money.
Yeah. Where your treasure is, that's where your heart will be also.
Yeah.
Something like that. You got me forgetting the scripture.
Right. I'm like, somebody pull it out.
Somebody run
the tape back. We're gonna reshoot this with the right scripture.
Get the King James. But this is so good. Like, that's a good strategy. Like, look at your bank statement and figure out where you're putting money, and that's going to tell you what you really care about. You really don't care about health.
Right.
You really don't care about business. You really don't care about, your family. Potentially.
Yeah.
Because you're not making, if you really broke it down, wow. I'm always thinking of businesses too. We should start an app that just really shows people. I know there's probably 1,000 apps. Sorry, Mackenzie. My team gets upset at me because I'm always,
Try to start a new business. It's like, just get through the podcast episode, bro.
Right.
Like, this doesn't need to be another business venture.
Doesn't need to be another business. Okay, settle down.
Yeah.
But I think that's really, really good. Because our treasure...
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No.
No, I was just going to say, okay, people have an issue. Well, when I say people, I mean Christians sometimes have an issue with the word manifestation. I look at manifestation as a consequence of your beliefs, a consequence of your action. What have you manifested in your life based off of your actions and your beliefs? So when you print out those bank statements, your life is a result of your investments.
Ouch.
Your life is a result of your investments. So if you are unhealthy, you're overweight, you don't like where you live, you don't like your relationships, your business isn't doing well, you don't like your career, where have you invested money? Have you invested in a career coach? Have you invested in a relationship coach? Have you invested in just spending time to put yourself together to go out and meet new people?
Mm-hmm.
Have you invested in saying, I want to do a better job at my eating habits? Whatever it is, it doesn't have to always be coaches. It has to be an investment into how you're spending your time and your money. And when you look at that, that is the result of your life.
Absolutely. And, as I think about, the podcast here, we made this investment and it hadn't immediately paid off yet. We haven't paid for all the cameras yet.
Yeah.
But monetarily, but it's like I'm meeting new people. The network I'm gaining, the ROI I'm getting is not just monetary, and it's not just like immediate.
Yeah.
Like you think, because I spent $1, I'm supposed to get 100 back tomorrow. And that's like we tell people when they're talking about investing in stocks. This is for the long term.
Right.
You let that thing sit and grow and compound.
Yeah.
And so I love that because I can tell that you're in different rooms. I can tell that you think differently by the way you're articulating these topics. So I guess, again, tell the people, so what is Impact Weekend?
Yeah, so Impact Weekend, it's my 3-day live event. We do it in Atlanta every year. And about 100 women come together and we focus on 3 core pillars: their mindset, their messaging, and their marketing. And, with their mindset, we really just want to expand their mind, expand their vision into what is the life that you want to live? How do you overcome the fear and the roadblocks that's actually holding you back? How do you overcome imposter syndrome? Because a lot of our women deal with imposter syndrome. So we really get to the root of the things that are holding them back. Then I help them get clear on their message. Who are you in the marketplace? How can you stand out in a saturated market? How can you attract your dream clients? How can you speak their language? How can you attract them? And then we talk about the marketing and monetization. How do you now put yourself out there? How do you attract clients? How should you be packaging your skills? How much money do you want to be making? We map out their revenue plan. So I love it because it makes it so real for them. It's like an opportunity for you to not just invest in yourself in terms of you pay for the ticket, but when's the last time you had a full weekend to yourself to be like, I want to just prioritize me and my business. And at the end of it, I want something tangible to be able to come from it. And then the connections and the relationships in the room. It's beautiful. It's magical. It's amazing. I love it so much.
Is that the best part? The relationships? I mean, sure, the money's good.
I think it is because, again, I was surprised. I didn't realize how much people desired community. And I see my clients, their friends now 5 years after, because we're about to be year 6. That I'm like, dang, dope. Y'all met in 2020 or 2021 and y'all collaborate together. Y'all go on vacation together. Y'all kids are friends. Y'all pray together. It's beautiful to see. So I love it.
I love it too, because I feel like, I love how you talked about your parents having that Christian foundation, and mine did too. And I love how they carried that baton, right?
Yeah.
They had to. Who knows? Some of the stuff that we're doing now wasn't fully available to them. You couldn't just meet people,
right,
that you didn't know. Like that just didn't happen.
Yeah.
And so I feel like we are that generation. We are that is a mandate on some of us to get out here, go get it, show what's possible. And then once you do it, just like the Bible says, once you are strengthened, go strengthen your brother. So I feel like you're doing that. You are strengthened and you going and you helping other people to learn, hey, let's demonstrate the possibilities. Let's show people. Don't tell people what they can't do. We doing it over here. So that's really cool. And I'm so happy to meet you. What's any final thing you tell people
Thank you.
through this whole talk that we've had in that camera?
This one? This one? Mine? Okay.
Talk to your tribe. What do you call your people?
I guess women of impact.
Women of impact.
Yes.
Talk to your women of impact and future women of impact.
Right. If you are a woman of impact and you want to see things change for your business, you want to impact more people with your voice, your message, because you really, truly believe that you were called to, and you're like, I'm done playing. I got to invest in myself. I got to get in the right rooms. I need that community. I would love to work with you. I want to invite you to be a part of my community. You're welcome to come to Impact Weekend. You can go to impactweekendlive.com to learn more about it. Or if you just want to get to know me and see what I'm all about, follow me on Instagram at Maya Elious. But this is the time and the season to say, I'm ready to level up and I'm called to do more, and I want to be able to help you do that.
Ooh. Talk to the people. I'm about to be a Women Impact.
That is hilarious.
My wife ain't gonna let me go to it. She might want to go.
Tell her to go.
Yeah,
man, the guys.
Are guys allowed to go?
Guys can come. It's just promoted to women.
Yeah.
I gotta say, the husbands are my ride or dies. They'd be like, yo, my wife has to come to your event. I've had women that they're like, my husband found you and he sent me to you.
Yeah. Well, I may do that because like I was saying before, we meet so many people in elementary school, in high school, in college, maybe at your first job. But after that, it really starts to dwindle.
Yeah.
You don't really meet that many new people after that. Mm-hmm. And so like, and it ain't all, obviously you can meet people anywhere, but meeting the right type of people.
Yeah. The intentional relationships.
People that are doing the thing that needs to be done and making an impact. Gosh, what'd you say earlier? Not just, we all got potential and you can pull out potential and that's great, but are you really tapping into your purpose?
Yeah.
Are you really fulfilling 100% of what God's called you to be? Mm-hmm. So I love that you're doing that. Prayers and blessings on everything you're doing. May it continue to grow and prosper. We are so grateful to have met you and had you here to bless us with your knowledge, your wisdom. And until next time.
Till next time. Thank you for having me. Thank God for Instagram.
Thank God for Instagram. We about to start getting social, right? All you got to do is reach out in the DM and you never know. You might get a reply. So stay motivated, y'all. The journey is not always easy. You may not always feel supported. You may have some setbacks, but even if you got to invest in yourself to get in the room, do so, and you'll be glad you did. It's your boy, StephenMotivate. Stay motivated. Peace.